Hi, my friends. Today I want to present you a new story. Enjoy watching it. My first day at the company began with a mix of anticipation and unease. As I stepped into the sleek, modern lobby of Carter Enterprises, I couldn't help but feel like a small fish in a very large pond. The building was a towering glass structure that screamed success, and the people inside it moved with a confidence that spoke of Ivy League educations and polished resumes. My own high school diploma felt like a flimsy shield against the onslaught of prestige. I made my way to the reception desk, where a cheerful woman with a headset greeted me. "Welcome to Carter Enterprises. You must be Robert, here for the induction ceremony, right?" "Yes, that's right." "Thank you," I replied, trying to match her enthusiasm. "Great. Follow me, please." She led me through a maze of corridors until we reached a large conference room. The room was already filling up with other new hires, and I could feel the weight of their collective accomplishments pressing down on me. I found a seat at the back, hoping to stay out of the spotlight. The induction ceremony started with a speech from the company president, a man whose presence dominated the room even before he spoke. His voice was warm and authoritative, resonating with an air of confidence that demanded attention. "Welcome to Carter Enterprises," he began. "Today, you join a family that values hard work, dedication, and innovation. Each of you has been chosen for your unique talents and potential to contribute to our success." I listened intently, feeling a spark of hope. Maybe, just maybe, I could find my place here. Little did I know then, the man speaking was my father, and his words were not just for the new hires but a message for me as well. After the speech, the room buzzed with conversation as we mingled. I found myself standing awkwardly by the refreshment table, trying to avoid eye contact. That's when Edward made his entrance. Tall, impeccably dressed, and with an air of superiority, he seemed to glide through the room, leaving a trail of sycophantic smiles in his wake. "Robert, right?" he said, stopping in front of me. "High school grad? Welcome to the big leagues." His tone was patronizing, and his smile didn't reach his eyes. "Yes, that's me. Thank you," I replied, forcing a polite smile. Edward leaned in slightly, lowering his voice. "You know, most of us here are from top universities. Harvard, Yale, that sort of thing. But hey, everyone has to start somewhere, right?" I felt a flush of anger but kept my tone even. "Absolutely. Looking forward to proving myself." Edward smirked and moved on, leaving me fuming. Around him, a group of new hires laughed, clearly entertained by this little show of dominance. It was clear that I was an outsider in their eyes. The next few weeks were a test of my endurance. Edward had a knack for finding ways to belittle me in front of others. One day, he dumped a stack of documents on my desk with a sneer. "Handle these, Robert. If you want to get close to a Harvard graduate like me, you have to work for it." Another time, he made a snide remark in a meeting. "You know, Robert, sometimes I wonder how a high school grad like you even got a job here." The other new hires, all fresh from prestigious universities, would snicker or look away, embarrassed for me. But I refused to give Edward the satisfaction of seeing me break. I tackled every task he threw my way, working late into the night to ensure everything was perfect. My strategy was simple: outwork, outlearn, and outlast. One evening, after another long day, I arrived home to my wife Emily and our son Jake. Their smiles were my refuge. Emily noticed the tension in my shoulders as she handed me a cup of tea. "You look exhausted, Robert. Maybe you should talk to someone about what's going on at work." "It's okay, love," I said, taking a sip of the soothing drink. "I have a plan." Jake, only 5 but wise beyond his years, looked up at me with big, trusting eyes. "Daddy, are you going to be a big boss at work?" I smiled, ruffling his hair. "Maybe someday, buddy. Maybe someday." The next morning, buoyed by my family's support, I faced the day with renewed determination. My goal was clear: prove my worth through my work. Every document Edward dumped on me was an opportunity to learn, every snide comment a lesson in patience. Slowly but surely, I began to make small but significant contributions to the team. Other employees started to notice my dedication. "Hey, Robert, can you help me with this report? I'm not sure if I'm formatting it correctly," one of the new hires, Jessica, asked one day. "Of course, Jessica. Let's take a look," I replied, glad to be of assistance. Edward, seeing our interaction, glared at me but said nothing. I could tell he was seething with frustration that his attempts to undermine me were failing. One particular incident stands out. It was a Friday afternoon, and everyone was ready to wrap up for the weekend. Edward approached my desk with his usual smirk. Robert, I need these figures reconciled by end of day. Think you can handle it? I looked at the thick stack of papers and nodded. Yes, Edward, I'll get it done. As I worked through the data, I noticed an inconsistency. It was a small error, but one that could have significant implications if not corrected. I double-checked my calculations and found the mistake originated from Edward's earlier reports. With a sinking feeling, I realized I had to bring this to his attention. Edward, there's an issue with the figures you gave me, I said, approaching his desk. He looked up, annoyed. What now, Robert? There's a discrepancy here. If we don't correct it, it could cause problems down the line. He snatched the papers from my hand and glanced through them. His face reddened. You're imagining things, Robert. Just fix it and stop wasting my time. I knew he was embarrassed but didn't push further. I corrected the mistake and submitted the report, my respect for him diminishing further. Despite his attitude, I continued to work hard, hoping that my efforts would eventually be recognized. As spring approached, the company prepared for the annual entrance ceremony for new employees. Edward, in a rare moment of civility, asked me to handle the lunch order for the event. I took it as a sign that maybe things were improving. I called the sandwich shop and placed an order for 70 sandwiches, ensuring there were enough for everyone, including myself. On the day of the ceremony, the atmosphere was festive. The new hires looked eager and excited as the president gave another inspiring speech. Afterward, I began handing out the lunch boxes, feeling a sense of accomplishment. But as I reached the end, I realized my lunch was missing. Confused, I checked the receipt. The order had been altered. The delivery person told me, your manager called to reduce the order by 1. I approached Edward, who was eating his sandwich surrounded by the new employees. Edward, can I speak with you? My lunch order seems to be missing. He looked at me with a mocking smile. Sandwich shops are everywhere, Robert. Go eat alone quickly, you high school grad. Laughter erupted around him, louder and more malicious than ever. My patience snapped. Fine then, all of you consider your job offers canceled, I said, my voice calm but firm. Silence fell as everyone processed my words. Edward burst into laughter. You can't do that, Robert. You're just an employee. Actually, Edward, I can, a voice said from behind. The president, my father, had been listening. Robert is my son and the future president of this company. Your actions have been noted, and there will be consequences. The room fell silent as my father stepped forward. Edward's face turned ashen. President, I didn't know. My father cut him off. That's evident. Your behavior has been unacceptable, Edward. This company values hard work and integrity over academic background. Edward's arrogance crumbled in an instant. The new hires who had laughed with him now looked at me with a mixture of fear and respect. Robert, you have my full support. Effective immediately, Edward, you are relieved of your managerial duties. We will be conducting a thorough review of your actions, my father continued. I turned to the new hires. Your job offers are indeed canceled. This company needs employees who respect all backgrounds and work hard. We will find people who align with our values. The new hires looked devastated, some even in tears. My father's presence had cemented my authority, and the respect I had earned through hard work and perseverance now shone through. As the news spread, the existing employees welcomed the change. With Edward gone, the workplace atmosphere improved significantly. I took over the company, my father's trust in me a guiding light. The employees, relieved and supportive, rallied around me. The days following Edward's dismissal were a whirlwind of activity. The void left by his departure was palpable, but it also presented an opportunity, a chance to rebuild and reorient the company's culture. As the newly appointed leader, I knew I had to rise to the occasion, not just for my father, but for all the employees who were now looking to me for direction. One of my first tasks was to address the lingering tension and uncertainty among the staff. I called for an all-hands meeting in the main conference room. As I walked in, I felt the weight of hundreds of eyes on me. The room was silent, expectant. Good morning, everyone. I began trying to project confidence. As many of you know, there have been significant changes recently. I want to assure you that these changes are for the better. We are committed to creating a workplace where everyone, regardless of their background, can thrive. A murmur of agreement rippled through the room. I continued, we will be implementing new policies to ensure fairness and respect for all employees. Additionally, we'll be launching a mentorship program to help new hires integrate smoothly and feel supported. After the meeting, I was approached by Karen, a senior project manager with a reputation for being both tough and fair. She extended her hand. Robert, that was a great speech. I think we're all looking forward to seeing these changes implemented. Thank you, Karen. Your support means a lot, I replied, shaking her hand firmly. Over the next few weeks, I immersed myself in the company's operations. I met with team leaders to understand their challenges and listen to employees' concerns. One afternoon, while reviewing project timelines in my office, I received a knock on the door. Come in, I called out. Jessica, one of the new hires who had initially joined with Edward, walked in. She looked nervous but determined. Robert, do you have a moment? Of course, Jessica. Please take a seat, I said, gesturing to the chair opposite my desk. She sat down, taking a deep breath. I wanted to apologize for how I behaved before. I was caught up in the group's mentality and didn't treat you with the respect you deserved. I'm truly sorry. I smiled, appreciating her honesty. Thank you, Jessica. It takes courage to admit when we're wrong. I'm glad you came to talk to me. Let's move forward and work together to build a better environment. Her relief was evident as she nodded. I like that very much. Our conversation was interrupted by my assistant, Linda, who poked her head in. Robert, there's a call for you. It's urgent. Excuse me, Jessica, I said, picking up the phone. This is Robert. Robert, it's James from the IT department. We have a serious issue. There's been a data breach and some sensitive information might have been compromised. My heart sank. How bad is it? We're still assessing the damage, but it looks like employee records and some financial data were accessed. All right, James, I'll be down there in a few minutes. Gather the team and start working on containment and assessment. I hung up and turned back to Jessica. I'm sorry, but I have to deal with this immediately. We'll continue our conversation later. Of course, Robert. Good luck, she said, standing up to leave. In the IT department, the atmosphere was tense. Screens flashed with lines of code and graphs, while the team worked frantically to contain the breach. James, a grizzled veteran with decades of experience, briefed me on the situation. We've isolated the source of the breach. It appears to be an external attack, but we're still tracing the origin, he explained. Do we have any idea what information they accessed? I asked, scanning the data on his screen. We're still compiling the list, but it includes personal employee information and some financial reports. Okay, first, let's ensure the breach is contained. Then we need to inform the affected employees and implement additional security measures. The next few hours were a blur as we worked to secure the system and assess the damage. By the end of the day, we had a clearer picture. The breach was serious, but we had managed to contain it before more critical data was accessed. At the emergency board meeting that evening, I addressed the situation head-on. We've experienced a data breach, but I want to assure you that we're handling it. Our priority is the safety and security of our employees' information and the company's integrity. One afternoon, as I walked through the office, I overheard a conversation that brought a smile to my face. Jessica was talking to a new hire, mentoring her on a project. Remember, it's not about where you come from, but what you bring to the table. Hard work and integrity are what matter here. I paused, feeling a sense of pride. The aftermath of the data breach had left us all on edge. Our systems were back online, but the threat still loomed large. It wasn't just about restoring our operations. It was about finding the culprit and understanding the motive behind such a malicious act. Our A team worked around the clock, combing through logs and traces left behind by the hacker. One afternoon, I gathered the core team in the conference room. Michael, Jessica, Karen, and a few other key members joined me around the table, each wearing expressions of determination and concern. We need to get to the bottom of this. I began scanning their faces. We need to know who did this and why. Michael, always the optimist, nodded vigorously. I've been analyzing the attack patterns, and there's something peculiar. The hacker left behind a signature, a small piece of code that's oddly familiar. Familiar how? Jessica asked, leaning forward. Michael pulled up a screen and displayed the code. It's similar to something we've seen before in our own systems. It's almost like they knew our infrastructure inside out. Karen frowned. You mean it's someone from the inside? Precisely, Michael replied. And I have a lead. There's a hidden IP address in the logs that points to an external connection made shortly before the breach. I traced it back to a specific device that was registered under Edward's name. A hushed silence fell over the room. Edward, the disgraced former manager who had once tormented me and tried to sabotage my career. The same Edward who had been fired after his misconduct was exposed. Edward, I repeated, a mix of disbelief and anger coursing through me. Are you sure? Michael nodded. There's more. He attempted to download sensitive information, our new project plans, financial reports, employee data. If he had succeeded, it would have been catastrophic. I clenched my fists, feeling a surge of determination. We need to confirm this and gather all the evidence. We can't let him get away with this. Over the next few days, we worked tirelessly. Michael's expertise in cybersecurity, combined with Jessica's keen eye for detail and Karen's relentless pursuit of truth, led us to uncover a trail of digital breadcrumbs. Edward had been careful, but not careful enough. He had used his personal laptop, thinking it would be untraceable, but he had underestimated our resolve. Finally, we had everything we needed. The evidence was irrefutable. Edward had hacked into our systems, attempted to download sensitive information, and left behind a trail that led straight to him. We decided to confront him directly. I arranged a meeting with Edward under the pretense of discussing his severance package. He arrived, looking smug and confident, unaware of what awaited him. Edward, I began, keeping my tone neutral. Thank you for coming. We need to discuss something important. He leaned back, a smirk playing on his lips. Of course, Robert. What can I do for you? I slid a folder across the table towards him. We've been investigating the recent data breach. We have evidence that points to you as the perpetrator. His expression shifted from smugness to shock, then anger. This is ridiculous. You have no proof. Michael, who had been quietly observing, spoke up. Actually, we do. Your IP address, your device, your login credentials, everything points to you. We've even traced the downloaded data attempts back to your personal laptop. Edward's face turned pale. You can't prove anything. I'll deny it all. Jessica leaned forward, her voice calm but firm. Deny all you want, Edward. The evidence is overwhelming. You've been caught red-handed. I looked him in the eye. Why, Edward? Why would you do this? He sneered. Why? Because you humiliated me. You took everything from me, my job, my reputation. I wanted to make you pay. I shook my head, feeling a mixture of pity and disappointment. You did this to yourself, Edward. Your actions, your arrogance, your inability to see beyond your own ego. Those are what led to your downfall. He stood up, his face contorted with rage. This isn't over, Robert. You'll regret this. As he stormed out, I felt a sense of closure. Edward's true nature had been exposed, and justice would be served. Later that day, I called for another all-hands meeting. It was time to address the entire company, to reassure them and to share the lessons we had learned. Everyone, I began, we've identified the individual responsible for the breach. It was Edward, a former employee. His actions were driven by personal vendetta and malice. But I want to emphasize something important. I paused, letting my words sink in. It doesn't matter what kind of education you received or where you graduated from. What matters is the kind of person you are. Integrity, respect, and teamwork. These are the values that define us. Edward lost sight of these values and it led to his downfall. The room was silent, but I could see nods of agreement and understanding. Let's move forward together, stronger and more united. Let's rise above the challenges and continue to build a company we can all be proud of. The applause that followed was a testament to the resilience and spirit of our team. We had faced adversity, but we had come out stronger, ready to take on whatever the future held. And as I looked around at my colleagues, I knew that together, we could achieve anything.